Good afternoon, guys. Welcome back into my channel. So in this lab, we're going to create an application gateway. So as you know that in Azure, an application gateway is a web traffic load balancer that enables you to manage traffic to your web applications. So traditional load balancer operate at the transport layer of the OSI model. So TCP and UDP, and route traffic based on source IP addresses and port to a destination IP address. But an application load balancer, say if you were to go to so you go to Google here, you say create an application gateway. Sorry, application gateway. Oh, gateway in Azure. So yep. So there go sorry. That's not the documentation I want. Let's say application gateway in portal. Okay, so that's probably what this one I want. So guys, you see here it says that direct web traffic with application gateway Azure portal. So it gives you the prerequisite. So create an application gateway on the Azure portal menu. So these are the steps. So just in case, now I'm going to provide you with the link of this step in the bottom of the description of this video. So just in case if you wanna, profit this opportunity. And just a second. So if you want to profit the opportunity to see the steps on how to create this application gateway. So by the way, let's not wasting time. Let's just go ahead and start making this video real quick. So first thing first, we would go to application gateway, and you will click on create, and you have the subscription. So you got to give a name into your resources group, just in case. If you have one already, you could just click on that, but I don't have one, so let me create a resource group. So as usual, I will call this RG1, which is resource group 1, and just hit create. So I could call my application gateway, let's say application and gateway. I just name it that, but you could name it any name you'd like. And I can put this on East US, sorry. So on East US, and there we go. I can leave the tier as default. You could read that yourself, take your time and just go over it and know what are the meanings of certain things here. I could make this the minimum instance count as 2 and the maximum is 10. And the availability zone, you could either choose any zone you'd like, but as for me, I'm gonna leave this way. Now down here, I can create a virtual network. So let me just call this VNet1. And I can leave everything else as default for now. Hit create. And the subnet, yeah, just leave this subnet as default here for now. Now as for the backend here, I can click add and call this font, let's say front end 1, and click OK. And then for the public IP, I call it front end 1. Now let's go on the back end. I can click on add a backend pool, and I could call this backend sorry guys, I could call this, I can call this backend 1, and it says that add backend pool without target, backend target. So I could hit yes here and just hit add. Now let's go to the configuration menu. So there go my my front end, public IP name, and there go to my backend pool. Now we're going to click on routing rules. So we're going to create some routing rules for our application gateway. Let's call this, you could give it any name you'd like, but I'm gonna call this routing name 1. And I can give this as a priority of 100. But if you click here, you will see what that means and what is priority is basically is. So now you may wonder what is priority when create an application gateway. So application gateway requesting routing rules. When you create an application gateway using the Azure portal, you can create a default rule. So there is rule number 1. This rule bind is the default listener to the application gateway HTTP listener with the default backend pool of the app gateway backend pool. So in the default backend HTTP settings, after you create the application gateway, you can edit the settings of the default rule or create the new rule. So the rule type is when you create a rule, you choose between basic and path-based. So choose basic if you want to forward all requests on the associate listener, for example, a blog.consoto.com. So to a single backend pool. So these are what these things mean. But you could go on the Azure website and just learn this yourself if you find this interesting. So now the listener, so to associate the listener, so associate a listener to the rules so that the request routing rules that are associated with the listener is evaluated to determine the backend pool to route the request to. So let's call this, I'm gonna call this listener name 1. And I could make this either HTTP or HTTPS. So what that is associated backend HTTP settings. So add a backend HTTP settings for each rule request or routed from the application gateway to the back end targets by using the port number, protocol, and other information that's specified in this setting. So for a basic rule, only one backend HTTP setting is allowed. All requests on the associated listener are forwarded to the corresponding backend targets by using these HTTP settings. So you have to know what are these things are without actually just going, just going and create things without give you actually the explanation of certain things. So then we go ahead and just see here. So public. So the front end public IP address, you already have that. That's just it. Sorry. So here we have backend, and we can create a new backend settings. We're gonna name this, let's say I'm sorry guys. We're gonna name this so with React settings, all that is that if with Reacting is configured for a basic rule, all requests on the associated listener already are redirected to the target. So this is global redirection. So let's call this backend settings 1. And I could leave this on port 80. The protocol is already HTTP by default. I can leave everything else by default. So then let me just hit add and add. So now I create this routing rule. Now let's just go on tags, give it a tag, application, and then let's say demo, and let's review and create, guys. So this can be a very long video. So for the sake of not making this, too long, such a video. So the redirection target, all that is to choose a listener and or external site as a redirection target. So the only reason that I don't jump on trying to create this application, I mean the two virtual machine that I need, is because the fact that I want to put them on the same resource group, the VM on the same resource group with the application gateway. So just a minute, please. All right, guys. So it's kind of says that the deployment is in progress. Now, by the way, just to avoid killing time. So if you have to question what is an application gateway do? So the answer to that is that an application gateway is an enterprise security solution that lets user access traditional web applications hosted in corporate data centers using the same login credentials and methods they use to access mobile app and cloud services. So now the other question again, if you would ask like, what is the difference between an Azure Application Gateway and an Azure API Gateway and Application Gateway? Well, the answer to that is that the API Management Support, MLTS, which is Transport Layer Security, while Application Gateway does not sense, it does SSL termination, which is secure shell layer. So this means it will reestablish a new SSH session to the back end. So it will break any type of SSL authentication connection. API management also supports API Active Directory based authentication, while Application Gateway does not. So now, if you would ask like, what are the types of application gateways? Well, application gateways, they have several types of them. They have authentication, they have virtual private network, they have proxy server, they have packet filtering, and they have stateful inspection, and they have unmanned aerial vehicle. So, and the other question again, so if you would ask like, what is the difference between Azure Front Door and Application Gateway? Well, the Azure Front Door and Application Gateway, so while both Front Door and Application Gateway are layer 7s, which is HTTP and HTTPS, load balancers, the primary difference is the Front Door is a non-regional service, whereas Application Gateway is a regional service. So, yep. So by the way, let's see if we can just jump ahead and start create the the virtual machine. I just want to make sure that they're on the same region, and I can find the VNet too, because if this is not created yet, you may not find the VNet to make your connection. Now let's call this virtual machine. Let me call this VM1, and I can put it on East US, availability zone and zone, bang, bang, bang. So let me just choose a Ubuntu 18.4. And then when I go down here, I can create a password. I don't need to choose any size. This is bang, bang, bang. Yeah, there's no need to you recently use size. Okay, so if that's the case, let's just choose this one. And then let's create a name for it. I'm gonna call this one Linux and Linux 1. Or just let's call it Linux 1. And create a password. Let's go. Okay. Now, hopefully the application gateway is already created, so we can use the VNet and associate it into this machine while we're here. Because the portal is kind of changed. So the way that application gateway used to be 2 months ago, it's not the way it is now. Now let's see if we can find the VNet. So it does not be here yet. So that's why let's just go on the application gateway and see if we already have the gateway. So we do have it here. Let's refresh. So this VNet, we have to be able to see it and be able to use it while we're doing all. We created those machines. Let's go ahead and hit create. And then, all right. Let's put this here. We're gonna make this VM1. And then see if we can find this. Let's go here. Let's call this Linux 1. And then we could we confirm. Hopefully now we see. Oh, where's the VNet that we created? You see something? So we created a VNet, and I just can see it. See something about the subnet, because we created a VNet already, so there's no need to create another one. Create a virtual network. What's the sense of that when I already created one? It's discarded. Yes. No thanks. It's just something about, yeah. Maybe the application gateway is not fully. It's just refresh. And let's go back here. Let's go and create. So we should be able to have all these. Let's call this VM1. Let's put this on this one. Linux 1. Okay. Hopefully it's there. Can't find this. I'm not sure why. Hmm. Let's check something to see. Yeah, so we create a virtual network already. So I'm not sure why we gotta to be able to use this VNet. Yeah. So we already have a VNet. See, let's back out a little bit. Okay, okay. So now we should be able to see it. I'm sure we will. So let's go create, and hopefully it's right there. Put it in the source group. Now the virtual machine, we want to call this VM1, since we have to create two. And we could put the server image. Let's use this. What do we have here? Okay. Why do we got it? Let's use this one. Okay. Now let's give it a username, Linux 1. You could give it any name you'd like. Okay. And confirm. All right. So now let's hit disk. We're gonna leave everything as default on the disk. Now let's come to this part. So let's see if we can find the VNet. The VNet, bro. Let's see. Why do I gotta create a VNet when I already have a VNet here? I already have a virtual network, am I not? Let's call this VNet 1. I can find it. I'm not sure why. I have a VNet already, right? There we go, VNet 1. Okay, I'm not sure why. Go ahead and create it again. And Bang, bang, bang. M1. Oh, yeah. Just leave everything as default. Yeah, put it in there. And there's Linux 1. And then okay. No, no. I got it back out. Okay. So there you go. The VNet we wanted. Now we have it. And I apologize for that, guys. It was kind of taking forever before we could get this VNet. Now manage. Let's create a subnet. Let's name it subnet 1. And then we could leave a default IP address. So not gateway, we could leave this as default. Network security group, we could leave this as default. So everything else can be as default at this stage. So let's just go ahead and make this. All right. Now, just back out into the VM. Now, once you get there, you can click that if you'd like. It's up to you. So delete public IP address and net when VM is deleted. So then you could go down here. Now that's how I do this. I can choose my application gateway that I created and just associate the backend one into the machine that I created. So now, next, I can leave everything else by default. On the monitoring part, on the management and the monitoring part. Now, so I get to advanced, I can leave everything by default. Now, when I come to this, you could give this a name if you would like, but as for me, it's either or. Sometimes you could give it a name and sometimes you could, leave that alone by default. Now let's review. It's past the validation. Let's hit create. Now our first VM is in deployment. Now let's go ahead to home. Let's start create the other one. For the time being, because I don't want to make this video such a too long a video, but it's unfortunate that we couldn't find what we needed. Because in order for it to work, it have to be on the same VNet as the as your application gateway VNet. So we call this VM2 and let everything else be by default. Once I get to this here, I could call this, Linux. I could call this machine Linux 2. And then I erase. I could give it a password. Okay. Let's click next. Just double check to make sure. Sometimes I have problem with password. And I don't want to have to recreate a machine just because I was making a mistake when typing the wrong password. Now there we go. That's what we needed. So we associate the VNet. Guys, make sure that you associate the VNet of your application gateway on the VM that you created. If you don't do that, you're gonna get into a trouble, and you don't want that. So let's go ahead and create a subnet for this. I'm gonna call this subnet 2. You could give it any name you'd like, and I can leave the IP address by default. But if you want to, you could associate an IP address that you like with it. So it's all up to you. I could say no thanks, all this, no thanks. And I could go back to the virtual machine. Now let's go choose this one. How about that? It's gonna get to it. And then let's go ahead and choose that. And while we choose that, let's choose this one. So it's gonna be good. So we're good now. You just have to know how to play with these. But otherwise, this is pretty simple. But if you don't work with it until you get used to it, you might find this difficult as a task. But guys, trust me, it's pretty simple. So whether if you're a cloud architect or a cloud engineer, just know that you got to work with these until you get used to them, and you'll be good. So let's review if it's passed the validation, and then we could create. So let's go ahead and create. All right. So now that we have a 2 VM being created, now we're gonna use terminal just to make this process quick. Let's type in terminal. You have that poll, so let's just erase this session. Oh, sorry. So let's just erase this session, and then it's clear. Okay. Let's go back to this. Let's go back home. Now, guys, we have a 2 VM being created. So first thing first, let's just go on VM. Now there we go. There go our 2 VM, VM1. The same subscription, same resource group, same is location. But if you want to, you could put this on a different location though. I'll tell you what, let's see if I can move this and put it on a different location. Because it don't matter though. As long as, tell you what, let's see. No, I can't modify this, but this is pretty fair enough to show you the demonstration of the importance of an application gateway and what it does actually to you. But let me click on VM1 and let me grab the public IP address. So just a second, guys. All right, guys. So you grab the public IP address, and then I go here. So let's say I'm gonna SSH into this machine. So SSH, and then the name of VM1, Linux1, at, and I paste the IP address. Then I hit yes. Now I put in my password. Hopefully I remember my password. And then enter. Okay, so I'm in. So that's my first VM. Now let me go ahead and log into the second VM for the time being. Now let me go ahead first and foremost. Let me grab the public IP address of VM2. Let's go back. Let me SSH. In the name of VM2 at, and paste the IP address. You hit yes. And then you put on the password. Now, hopefully, I type in the right password, because usually it would giving me problems and make my videos longer just because, see, that's the problem. Now it asks me for the password again. Let's hope that we in. Out of mercy. Okay. SSH. Next 2. Right. Okay. Now let's see if we in. Not sure why. I'm always have trouble with my password. Hopefully we in. Let's close this session and we open it again. And if not, then I'm gonna have to create another VM. It's my problem. I'm always having trouble to remember what's password that I'm typing in. That I'm typing SSH and then Linux 2 at password. Why is it doing that? It's not even asking me for anything else now. Just the password. But if it's not letting me in, then I'll just go ahead and create another machine. Okay, so let me remove VM2 real quick and just recreate another one. Yes. Yeah. That's what happened when I forget the password. Oh man. Yeah, we got to remove VM2. Okay. Let's close. Now VM2. I gotta erase this. Apply. Hit yes. And remove VM2. Okay, so let me go ahead and just create a VM. I'll call this VM3 just to avoid confusion. Put on the same resource group and call this VM3. And then let's go here, call this Linux 3. Then okay. Okay. So hopefully it works. Hit next. Next. I can put this for that one because I deleted the other one. And I can apply the application load balancer. And then I can manage monitor, just create whatever tag, demo, new review and create real quick. Create. Okay. So it's in progress. All right, guys. So now let's go home, VMs, refresh. So we can see VM3. For the sake of VM2, will it let me So we grab the AIP. Now let's see if we can clear everything out. Oh, by the way, let's just close this one. And let's open this terminal. And let's go ahead and SSH into, so call this Linux 3. And then paste the password, paste the IP address, and then call this yes, and type in the password. Hopefully we in. Okay, so now we in. All right, so now let's go ahead and just do a couple things real quick here. So let's see what's the version of Ubuntu that we have here. It says release -A. So we have a distributor ID Ubuntu, description Ubuntu. So the version is 20.04.5 PL LTS release. So let's go ahead and just make this some of these update real quick. So sudo apt update. Let's update this VM real quick. So let's go ahead and do the same here. So lsb underscore release, and then space that. So we have the same. So let's just do sudo apt update. So to update this VM, and let's go on the first one. Let's see the second one. Okay. So what do we do? So we could do sudo apt list, and then that dash dash upgradable. Okay. So it looks like we may have everything upgraded. Now let's download the nginx server into it. So the command is I could just do an opao and just erase some of these and just say sudo apt install. So nginx and say W as yes. Let's go ahead and do the same here. Just opao, we move apt install, and oh no, first of all let me just do that to be on the safe side. So it's sudo apt list dash dash upgradable, and then I do an opao sudo apt install gnx, right? nginx, nginx. Okay, and then you say yes, and it's doing. So let's go over there. So we already have that being installed. Now, so now if we were to pull up a browser and we paste the IP address of one of those, let's see. Let's see if it works. Well, sometimes it don't, but for the time being, let me grab the IP address of the other one. I'm not sure which one, so that was the second one. So let's grab the IP address of the first one and just paste it here. Let's see if we be lucky with it. Say next. I mean, continue to site. Now, sometimes it doesn't show. It doesn't mean that, it's a problem in our configuration. But by the way, I would definitely continue do what I'm doing because I know these are the steps. So that's on machine 3. Let me modify my, oh, sorry guys. Oh, so cd, so it's cd dash var // HTML, and then with the sudo nano index dot nginx dot html. Okay, so you see here, it doesn't show you that much text and nothing, so I could put h1. Let me see, and close it. Is this the primary or the server? Oh, okay, that's the primary. Okay, I could say I am, no, that's the backup. I am the backup. I am the backup. I'll just close H1. And if I were to save this, it will go on. Since I'm using Mac, so if I say X, no, this is not good. Let me back here. Eh, oh, sorry. Let me do it. Commando. So sorry guys, so I want to make sure that this is saved before we get out. I'm gonna do this. Okay. Do a G. Play, word, refresh, find hook, and copy, which one is to save this text? Okay, well, that's what I do. Save without prompting. Just X out. Saying this. Not sure. No. Okay. So now let's see. We can X out. Okay, so hopefully it saves. Let's go to here. Let's do cd or slash var or slash. We'll do that. Oh, HTML. Right. And then we could do sudo nano index dot ngni dot html. Oh, that's Debian. I forget. Yeah, my bad. So nginx dot Debian nginx dot Debian dot html. So it was my mistake earlier. So now I could go here and remove everything and call this the primary. The primary server. And then I could go to save this file, then X out. Now, if we were to go back here, so I'm the primary. Now let's go back to the backup and make this modification because I think I probably, so it was sudo nano index dot, and then Debian at HTML. Okay, guys, so now let's call this I am the backup server, right? So it's Command C. Oh, sorry. Hopefully it saves. Okay. All right. So now let's go to the okay. If it doesn't work, it's not really big of a deal. So it's still, now you go to the application gateway and you click on backend pool. You click this. Now let's say you say virtual machine and see. Let's make this. Then you could go here. On the second one here. So we should erase these. Let's see. Let's go here. Oh. Let's grab the first one. Let's grab the second one. So it looks like the first one is already. So VM, let me see something. Okay, so let's grab the second one then. So let's erase this. Just to avoid duplication. Okay, so we good. Let's erase this. Okay, so now let's save. And if I click here, oh no, I'm sorry. If I go to the application gateway, and I click overview, I can grab the front-end public IP address and I can paste it to a browser. I remove that and I hit enter. And I hit next. See, I'm the primary server. Now, if I refresh, the second one should say I'm the backup server. So basically, the whole of these application gateways that if one were to be down, the second one will take over. If one of those servers so so the whole of this application gateway is that if one were to be down, so the application gateway supports auto scaling with transport layer security offloading and end-to-end transport layer security and web application firewall, which is WAF, cookies-based session affinity, the URL path-based routing, multi-site hosting, and other features for a full list of support features. So let me show you again. So you see I'm the primary, and when I refresh, I get something again that says I'm the backup. So if I go here and go to home, and I'm gonna show you something. You see now we have all these, we have both of our VMs is running. So if I go to VM1, which is the primary, and I stop the service of that, right? And as I stop the service, and refresh it, and when I go back to, say if I go to home and hit VM, now you see the other one, it says, the status of VM1 says deallocating. So before you know it, it says deallocating stop. It's just gonna take a while before it says that. Now, if I go to refresh this, I'm not sure if this is too soon. So you're not gonna see the primary again. It means that if the primary were to be down, then every traffic that goes to the primary will be redirected to the backup server. So that's the beauty and goal of application gateway. So it's kind of like if your first server is down, then your business is not going to be down completely because you have an application gateway that's going to redirect every traffic that comes to the server into the backup. Now let me refresh this and show you. You see how earlier, every time I refresh, it would show you either the backup and the server, but now I'm refresh, it's just showing you I'm the backup. Well, the reason being is the fact that the server is down, so now the backup have to take over. Now, the proof of that is that I'm going to stop the server and the backup, and when I display this website, it's not going to show you anything. I know it might take some time before it shows you that, for the sake of not making this video too long, but it's good to see. And if you want to create this and play with these technologies, this is something that's very fun to do. So let me stop this, the backup too as well. And I go here. So the status shows it's still running, but it's not because it might take some time before it updates into the system. But basically, it's not running. So let me show you. The proof of that is this. Let's just go to see. Now it says stop deallocated. Now this one status is on deallocated, and before you know it, it'll be stopped to and deallocated, right? Now, you see how it says now 504 gateway timeout. So you refresh, you're not gonna get nothing because the primary and the backup is down. Now it's either or. You're out of business. So nothing is being shown right now because both of the machines are being down. So yeah. So the benefits of the application gateway is that if one server is down, it would route traffic, you know. So two of the greatest benefits of the application gateway is to manage solution and the improve communication, across apps and increase business agility. So it improve communication across, different apps and stuff like that. So the application gateways perform, interfaces have changed on how to build application. And so let me go and restart the server. Start. And it's just gonna take a while before we can see so before we can see so the way application gateways work, so it accepts incoming traffic on one or more listeners. So a listener is a logical entity that checks for connection request. It's configured with a front-end IP protocol and port number for communications between client and application gateway. So now let's just refresh this. And if you go home and click virtual machine, and now you see it says this one is running. So it means that if I go here now and refresh my page, you should see the primary, which is the server, should display. So I'm the primary server. You see now it displays that, right? So in a simple words, an application gateway is an enterprise security solution that lets user access traditional web application hosted in corporate data center using the same login credential and method they use to access mobile apps and cloud services. So you see how the advantage of this is that it provides the same filtering benefits of the packet filter firewall. And the gateway can prevent application level attacks and stuff like that. So now let's go ahead and turn on the the backup too as well. Let's start it. Let's start the backup and you'll see. Now guys, the application gateway is a type of firewall that supports application level control over network traffic. So application gateway can be used to deny access to the resource or private networks to distrusted client on the web. So let's just refresh. And now it shows that both of them is running. So if I were to go here and refresh, so you see now it says that I'm the backup server, and refresh again, now I'm the primary server. So thank you so very much, guys. I appreciate you guys for taking the time to follow along. I know this was such a video, but I hope this was a very, helpful, because I love these and I enjoy doing them. So every time I get the chance to, to share these technologies with you, I count it as a privilege. So bear with me, please, and I apologize for such a long video. I'll see you in the next video. Thank you. Bye-bye.